I guess we'll see if this changes any in the next few weeks. Hey everybody, welcome to Mainly Movies. Today I'm going to be talking about my top 5 TIFF Award winners. If you're new here, please consider subscribing for a variety of movie-related content like reviews, rank lists, and trailer reactions. Well, it's the first Saturday of the month, so that means it's time for another episode of the Movie Nerds Club. It's hard to believe, but this actually marks the start of our second year of MNC videos. With the 46th Toronto International Film Festival kicking off in a few days, we decided to once again turn our focus to film festival award winners. After you watch my top TIFF award-winning movie picks, make sure you check out the videos of the other members of the Movie Nerds Club. Links to their videos are in the description below. Just like we did back in February for Sundance, this month we're going to be taking a look at TIFF Award winners. Technically, this topic encompasses all of the TIFF Awards, including jury prizes, but for my list, I'm specifically focusing on the festival's biggest and longest running award, the People's Choice Award. This is a vote-based audience award and has been given out every year since 1978, so there are plenty of films to choose from. I'm especially excited about this month's topic because I'm actually going to be covering TIFF this year as an accredited member of the press corps. So not only am I going to have a small hand in choosing the 2021 People's Choice Award winner, but you can also look forward to TIFF coverage and early reviews on this channel over the next few weeks. Remember, these are just my top movies, not the top movies, so be sure to post your own personal top TIFF winners in the comments below. I've already reviewed some of these movies on this channel, so if you want to check those out for some more in-depth thoughts on each of them, I'll put links in the description below and also link them up in the cards as we go along. Alright, let's get this top list started. Coming in at number 5, Hotel Rwanda. This won the People's Choice Award in 2004 and is one of only 6 winners in the last 2 decades that didn't go on to be nominated for Best Picture or Best Foreign Language Film at the Oscars. And I gotta say, of that small group, this is the one that surprises me the most, because it's a really good movie that's very typical of Oscar adoration. Based on a true story, it tells a dramatized account of hotel manager Paul Rusesabagina, who helped to save the lives of more than 1,000 refugees by providing them shelter in his hotel during the 1994 Rwandan genocide. This was a movie that I didn't get around to seeing until nearly a decade after it came out, and to be honest, I've only watched it a few times since. It's one of those films that deals with some really heavy stuff, so it's not one that you just pop in when you feel like watching a movie. It's more than a little emotionally draining, but it's also not so depressing that you watch it once and say, I'm glad I saw it, but I never want to watch it again. Because even though it centers around the horrors of a genocide, it's a story that focuses on its characters, and specifically on the heroic and selfless actions of people doing everything they can to ensure the safety of others. So even though the situational context and some of the things featured in this movie are really hard to watch, it's ultimately a powerful and semi-hopeful story. Coming in at number 4, Life is Beautiful. This won the People's Choice Award in 1998, and also won the Oscar for Best Foreign Language Film that same year as Italy's nominee. This is actually a movie that I didn't watch for the first time until 2016. I was vaguely aware of its existence, mostly by name alone, but didn't really know anything else about the movie. It was recommended to me as a really good drama comedy, and so I was totally unprepared for what it had to offer. Set during World War II, this movie tells the story of a Jewish-Italian bookshop owner who's sent to a concentration camp along with his wife and 5-year-old son. And during their internment, he does everything he can to physically and emotionally protect his son, including convincing him that their time in the camp is actually an elaborate game that can be won by successfully completing tasks like being quiet or staying hidden. Much like Hotel Rwanda, this is one of those movies that you can only watch every once in a while because of how draining it is. But again, like that one, this movie has an undercurrent of hopefulness and positivity, which is really impressive given the subject matter. It's got a very unique tonal balance. It's extremely rough and sad at times, but it can also be pretty funny and uplifting at other times due to Roberto Benigni's performance and his character's interactions with his son. fun. The film definitely walks the line of melodrama throughout its runtime, but it's a story that's certainly worth watching. Again, maybe not all that often, considering how bittersweet it is, but there are heartwarming elements that attempt to counterbalance the heartbreaking ones. Coming in at number 3, Jojo Rabbit. This won the People's Choice Award in 2019 and was nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars that same year. I'm starting to see a bit of a trend here with my list. We've got yet another film set during a really rough historical event and time period that manages to maintain an uplifting story by focusing on its characters rather than its situational context. In fact, this is not only the second World War II set film on the list, but the second one that focuses on a kid using their imagination to deal with the horrors of their reality. But unlike the melodramatic dramedy of Life is Beautiful, Jojo Rabbit is a satirical comedy drama focusing on a 10-year-old member of the Hitler Youth who fantasizes that Hitler is his imaginary friend. Let's be honest, on paper, this is a movie that shouldn't work. It shouldn't really work on film either. It sounds equal parts absurd and inappropriate, but it comes together in a way that's surprisingly meaningful. Like any satire, there's quite a bit of humor, but there's also a lot of heart, and the movie does not shy away from showing us some of the horrors of war with some very downbeat and heartbreaking sequences. But what really makes this movie work is that the story is told from the perspective of a 10-year-old boy. Yeah, it's a satire that features Taika Waititi as a child-conceived imaginary version of Hitler, but it's really about Jojo and his coming to terms with who he is and where he stands in life. This movie's a coming-of-age story above anything else. It pulls in so many of the key coming-of-age elements we expect: growth and understanding, friendship, empathy, realization, and self-discovery. And all of that helps to morph this movie into something more heartfelt and meaningful than you'd ever expect. Coming in at number 2, Green Book. This won the People's Choice Award in 2018 and also won the Oscar for Best Picture that same year. Okay, so it looks like the thematic trend continues with my 4th pick. Once again, we have another movie that, despite being set during an atrocity-filled time period and touching on some important and heavy themes, remains a very positive and heartwarming story by focusing on its characters. This is the second film on the list that's based on a true story, and tells the comedically dramatized tale of the business association turned friendship between jazz pianist Don Shirley and his driver Tony Vallelonga over the course of a concert tour through the Deep South in 1962. I know this movie has garnered a lot of animosity and frustration from some for its oversimplified portrayal of racism in the Deep South during the 60s, which is a fair criticism, but that's not really what this movie is about. It's a concept that's certainly present and has a big hand in the plot, but it really serves more as a contextual vehicle here for the story about a friendship between two people who come from very different worlds. Like most of the other movies on this list, it's a very character-based film, and the relationship between Doc and Tony is easily the highlight. It's presented in a very humorous way, utilizing a lot of comedy of manners, gags, and dialogue, but at its heart, Green Book is the story of a friendship and the wide-reaching impacts that friendship can have on the lives of those involved. So that means my number 1 TIFF Award winner is 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. This won the People's Choice Award in 2017, and was also nominated for Best Picture at the Oscars that same year. Although it is a character-based movie that can be extremely downbeat and hard to watch at times, I would argue that it finally breaks the trend that we've seen with this list, since it's not based on a true story and doesn't put a fictionalized story in the context of a real-life historical setting. But that doesn't make this film any less impactful. It's a dark crime drama that focuses on the gruff but grieving Mildred Hayes, whose daughter's murder has remained unsolved for months with no leads. She rents a series of 3 billboards and places a provocative message about the unsolved case in an attempt to jolt the police department into action. For me, this is such a satisfyingly crafted film. It's got an interesting and compelling story, a wickedly biting script, a unique tonal blend, a morally diverse set of characters, and a whole stack of amazing performances. In spite of all of this, I recognize that this isn't the type of movie that will appeal to everybody. It deals with some really intense and depressing topics, often mean-spiritedly, but does so with this super dark and often surprisingly placed humor. It's one of those movies where you don't really have any good characters, so nobody's particularly likable. Instead, you have a bunch of ambiguous characters that have just as many negative qualities as they do positive ones. And this movie interestingly explores that balance across an array of characters. And so the plot and unsolved mystery are what propel the story, but it's the characters that make the biggest impact and keep you coming back to rewatch the movie. Alright, so there you have it, my top 5 TIFF award-winning movies. What are your top TIFF winners? Be sure to post your own ranking in the comments below, and don't forget to check out the pics of the other members of the Movie Nerds Club. Remember, I've already reviewed some of these movies, so you can check those videos out for some more in-depth discussion of each, as well as my ratings, pros and cons, and even tailored film recommendations. Also, if you're interested in buying any of these movies, I do have affiliate links to all of them in the description below. I get a small commission from anything you buy using one of my links, so I'd really appreciate it if you use them if you're in the market for any of these movies. Alright, so if you got some enjoyment, insider information out of this top list, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button. And if you haven't done so already, please hit subscribe while you're at it to see more videos like this, as well as movie reviews. Till next time, this has been Alyssa with Mainely Movies. The way life should be.